we were going to be having our panelists up here, and so you'll be able to see their facial expressions and they'll be able to see yours. I'm a big believer in connection and being able to share that with others, so encourage it, but it's not required. We are here today for Shifting the Narrative, Innovative Strategies for Transforming Child Abuse Prevention in Oregon. I like to change that a little bit to be, we're really focused on child and family well-being and prevention as a whole. And you're going to see a lot of narrative and ideas and strategies that really lean into this well-being part. So with that, just want to give a look at our agenda. I know some people really like to know where the flow of the session will go before we jump in. So if you're one of those people, this is for you. We are going to look at the Oregon Child Abuse Prevention Collaborative, also known as the CAP Collaborative. That is the group that PCAO, Prevent Child Abuse Oregon, hosts and holds with all of our partners around the state of Oregon from multiple sectors of work and all who are doing work with children and families. We're going to give an overview of Prevent With Me 123, which is our engagement strategy for our CAP Collab members and how we bring this into PCAA's theory of change, also now Blueprints for Wellbeing. I will invite our panelists to join me, and then we will dive into our questions for them, and I will be talking a lot less, and so then we'll open it up if we have time for questions from the audience, and we'll be up here if you want to chat with us about any of our resources. All right, whoops, sorry, I went too fast. All right, so the Child Abuse Prevention Collaborative is also called the CAP Collaborative, and we are cross-sector and we are across the state of Oregon. That might include things like home visiting, culturally specific organizations, healthcare and behavioral health, governmental agencies, research and higher education, early childhood education, domestic violence and sexual assault prevention and response, parenting education and support, faith-based organizations, foster care, relief nurseries, child sexual abuse prevention, food justice, and legislative advocacy. And this is just to name some of the ones that are common, and we maybe have one or two members from these spaces. There are many other types of representation and identities that exist within our CAP Collaborative. It's one of the things that I love the most about it is we are coming from all these different spaces and bringing the wisdom of these sectors and fields and experiences from life. The way that we bring our CAP Collaborative together is using the Blueprints for Wellbeing, also known as the theory of change before. And we use this to align our work every single quarter. So if you are not familiar with the theory of change, there are things in them called levers. When you are investing in those, your time, your energy, and your money, these are the things that are shifting and changing the landscape of prevention. And so we took those and we brought that into our CAP Collaborative as the basis of how we talk about it. Because we are coming from all these sectors and these different spaces, we want to be able to ground in a commonality. So we call these our topics, and we'll talk a little bit more about how that fits into our Prevent With Me 123, but just wanted to tie it back to PCAA because it's a big part of how we bring them to this prevention side. And you all are going to see that I've kind of taken some of the norms of how engagement's done and changed it up a bit. That brings me to Prevent With Me 123. This is the fancy name for our quarterly cycle where we engage our CAP Collaborative. In each quarter, there are 3 months, and they are split up into these 3 categories. There's learning, there's the co-design session, and then there's connection. The learning is the really special part, and I want to give you all a taste of what this feels like to be a CAP Collab member. So in the first month of a quarter, I come to our CAP Collab and I say, hey, we're gonna be talking about one of those levers. And so for today, I would like you all to think about in the last month, when was a time that you learned something new that shifted your mindset? Thinking about this conference being around shifting mindsets, it might be a work thing. Maybe you went to a meeting or a webinar. Maybe it's something you're doing in your personal life, like a TikTok video or music you're listening to. But think about the concept of shifting your mindset, and I want you to really quickly turn to your neighbor and share about what that was. All right, folks, and we're going to practice something that I use in both classroom spaces, but also in my dance space, where I'm going to say waterfall, and you are all going to go, shh. So waterfall. It's so nice. I wish I had another opportunity to use this later. I don't think I send you all off into little groups later, but steal it. You can use it in your spaces. It feels like a rain stick. So what you all kind of got to experience was just a small bit of how we allow the CAP Collab members to go about learning about prevention and bringing their wisdom and their strengths and their knowledge to this space. So at the beginning of the quarter, I introduce to them the topic and I say, go out. You have the whole quarter to learn about this in whatever way you want to. The only ask is that it tries to keep to the topic, but I'm pretty flexible and I let them do. Because the way that the brain thinks and the way that it attaches meaning is really important, and that brings people into the work and gives them an identity in prevention. So this is our way of making people feel a part of the work, as well as bringing the things that they find interesting and important to them into this space. Second month, we have our co-design sessions, and that is a member-driven meeting space where people can bring their thoughts, their questions, and they can connect with each other around these same topics, but just gives them that extra time where it's not me facilitating, it's not me coming with an agenda, it's them bringing, this is what's going on, and here's how it ties to this thing that we're learning about. And then our last month is our connection month, where we actually have a CAP Collab meeting. We come together, we meet in small groups or breakout groups, and we share with each other what we learned about this quarter and how that impacted our work. For some people, it touches on their personal lives. For some people, it touches on their work lives. And for some, it's a combo or a intersection of both. And this brings an array of ideas and resources that we wouldn't always think to come to bring to the table when it comes to talking about prevention. And the way that I really like to shape this why we shifted this for the CAP Collaborative is also an imaginary moment for you all. Imagine you're sitting on your back porch or a familiar setting for yourself, and you're sitting with someone who you feel really comfortable with and you talk with on a regular basis. And you in your hand have a TikTok video and a peer-reviewed article, and you want to talk to them about prevention or child and family well-being. You probably would have an easier time connecting with that TikTok video because it's lower level, it's scrunched into something that you can digest and you can connect with because maybe it's fun or maybe it's lighthearted. And this is one of the hardest things that I have found, is having conversations with people about prevention when it's a hard and dark topic. And so I felt like by taking this barrier of we need to talk about this in a professional or in an academic space, we could welcome in more perspectives of what prevention means and how it's talked about and how people are addressing it in their communities. So with that, I'm super excited that I get to host and facilitate a wonderful panel of Oregon representatives from our CAP Collab who are going to share about their work and some of the ways that they are changing Oregon's landscape and the narrative of child abuse prevention. So I'm gonna invite them to come up, and as they're coming up, I will introduce them all. Well, actually, I'm gonna let you all introduce yourself. Sorry, we didn't plan this part, apparently. Welcome my panelists, please. We had a funny moment in our group chat yesterday where we talked about we are going to be the most casually dressed today, as well as we will be awarding ourselves that superlative. All right. So as CAP Collab members, we usually, because we are statewide, meet virtually. And I don't know about all of you, but I'm used to seeing lots of emojis on my screen and getting lots of affirmation from that. So we're going to stimulate that here with you all as the crowd. And I would love it if you use your hands to create a heart. There's many different ways that you can do that. And I'd love you to put that up in the air and share your loving thoughts towards our panelists before we dive in, so that, you know, they feel that love as they are on stage sharing. Thank you so much, everyone. All right, you all, looks like you have to share a mic. We'll see how that works. All right, our first question is, please give an overview of your role and share about the community voice and perspective that you would like to center or highlight.
All right, can you all hear me? Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. My name is Lindsay Spalding. I use he, him pronouns. I work for CARES Northwest, which is the local children's advocacy center here in Portland, Oregon. So I'm glad to be like literally a mile from my house. I won't lie. I know that's a privilege. What we do is a little bit of a lot of things, but the main thing we found is the most helpful here in Portland. We have so many cool nonprofits and resources, and not all of them are connected to how they are already inherently doing child abuse prevention. They are doing it, but they are doing a lot of other things too, a lot of other great things for our community. So at CARES Northwest, we decided, how can I be this initiator of child abuse prevention for you and help you recognize you're already doing the work? And then how can I help you do it better as a child abuse prevention expert? So what I do is I work a lot with a lot of local organizations and just help connect them to the larger data and research behind what child abuse prevention looks like, and help them really create good, healthy relationships in their organization, between staff of the organization, between staff and youth, and even staff and parents. I know we have a lot of home visitors and parent educators in here. So we do a lot of that with the local organizations here in Portland. So that's me.
Hello, everybody. My name is Akila, she, her pronouns. I am in the process of co-creating an aspiring organization called Uru Collective Care. Uru in my language means village, very cliche, but it is what it is. It's something that I've always looked for and searched for, and so I figured why not create it with the folks that are around me. It also stands for Organize, Overcome, Reclaim, and Uplift. The purpose of it is to partner with local families of color primarily, to disrupt the pipeline from schools to family separation, whether that's through incarceration or whether that's through foster care and child welfare. And the intention is really to shift the culture from surveillance to the true antidote to institutionalized oppression, which is connection and community and care. And what would it really take, like truly, what would it take for families to be the ones that are supporting other families, where teachers are not feeling like, oh, I have no idea how to help this family, so I'm going to call this hotline because for some reason I think the hotline's going to give them services. Instead of that, how can I connect them without going behind their back, giving them the autonomy, connecting them to other families in the area that are able to witness with compassion, without judgment. And we're all building the skills of, hey, I'm not going to fix everything for you, but I see you, and I'm not judging you. And I'll say a little bit more in a bit.
There's two. Which one do I pick? Alrighty. Alrighty. Hi, everyone. My name is Cherry, she, her pronouns. I work for a child care resource and referral agency, Care Connection Education, which is, we cover the regions, Douglas, Klamath, and Lake counties. So I'm really part of this to be the voice of the rural region, really speak out. I work primarily in early childhood education, so I work really closely with educators, college students, providers. In the ECE world, I provide them, I should say my position. I am the training coordinator, quality improvement specialist for Care Connection Education. So I plan, I coordinate all of the professional development trainings that the early childhood educators have to take every year. And really, what I love about this CAP Collab is being able to bring those resources and those supports that are very minimal in my region, and really just give that, spread the knowledge and give those educators that comfort and that training and that power within themselves for prevention for these children. And yeah, I'll talk more about that later. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Hey all, it's nice to be with you. My name is Eli Cox, and I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Abuse Prevention Coordinator for the Oregon Sexual Assault Task Force. We're a small statewide nonprofit that works to improve the response to and the prevention of sexual violence and related forms of violence, right? We know that multiple forms of violence have the same root causes, so we see them all being interconnected. So one of the pieces with our work, we really lead with a survivor and victim-centered mindset and frame of reference when we do our work across the state. And also, like within my role, I get to really focus on rural and frontier communities as well. That's where I'm from, including getting to collaborate with Cherry. Here we'll talk about a little bit later. And then also, I think within some of those mindsets is also deprofessionalizing our prevention work in our communities too, because I think what's already been said and will come up further is so many times, right, we know community has the answer. We know that some of our community members are doing some of the best prevention work, some of the pieces that are going to be core memories for youth going forward, and oftentimes they're not thanked for it. They don't even, it's not recognized in the grand scheme because they don't have this title or they don't wear this specific hat. So we're really interested in how do we deprofessionalize and really bring in this abundance of prevention. I'll pass it to.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Grace Fortson. I use she, they pronouns, and I am the Policy and Advocacy Manager for Our Children Oregon, which is a statewide organization advancing children's well-being, primarily through legislative advocacy and our data work. We steward a coalition of over 135 organizations across the state, which collectively create and support what we call the Children's Agenda, which is a representation of community priorities across all aspects of child and family well-being. And I just wanted to echo some of the sentiments that have already been said, that people feel really disconnected from control over their lives and over their community. So I'm definitely proud to have an agenda here that's informed by folks doing the work in local communities or by folks with lived experience. So.
Thank you so much, panelists. I have to control myself because I'm getting excited about how much you all are sharing and what I know is to come. So we'll just dive into our next question, and this time we'll start with Grace and we'll move back to Lindsay. That way it's like a little ping pong going back and forth. All right. Can you please share about one of the ways that CAP Collab has served you or taught you something?
I could share about so many ways that CAP Collab has served me and taught me things. It has been immensely supportive as a space amidst this very challenging work. And it also uses the cohesion of the space to propel our work forward together. The Discord space is so helpful for hearing just what else is going on in the state, what my colleagues on the stage and colleagues elsewhere in the state are doing, because that it helps me understand in my legislative advocacy, what are the gaps in policy? What is community having to fill in and what's working? In Roseburg, during our in-person CAP Collab meeting, I got to watch a very amazing video called Childcare Crossroads, the Douglas County Story. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I got to talk with folks in the video about their experiences of childcare in rural areas. What are the barriers? What are the needs? And then with that connection, I was able to go to the legislature and share really specific stories of how our state is failing rural communities and failing a lot of our families, honestly, in terms of childcare. This is, for those not keeping track of Oregon politics, it was a rough year for the Department of Early Learning and Care. So that has been such an incredible service for my work from the CAP Collab, and I'll pass it.
So this is my question. I love this. The reason why I joined the CAP Collab is for connection and for relationship. Because of this CAP Collab, I met incredible people, and within these incredible people, we partnered together. And for example, Eli and I, we met through this group, and with our partnership, we created a training, a professional development training that we provided to Douglas County, and it was focusing on I have my notes. It was focusing on like the child abuse history, statewide and local, and focusing on how oppression shapes present-day violence and abuse, examining different levels of prevention, and recognizing the true root cause of violence and abuse, which was an incredible resource to my region because they've never had a training like that. Just offering this type of topic was just incredible, and the feedback that we got, it was one of the very few trainings that I have that 100% of the registrants attended, and all of them, yes, yeah. If you guys know trainings, that's a big deal, and every single one of them said, yes, bring them back. Yes, we'd like more information. Yes, I would recommend this training. Please come back. So just off of, we had one attendee that came to Eli at the end and said, I was lost. I felt like I was at the end of my rope. I didn't know what to do. After this training, I feel like I have options. I feel like me and my son can make it through. And I almost cried. So it was just those are the reasons why I'm here. I love spreading those resources, partnering with other professionals and knowledgeable people, and just seeing the light in my providers and educators face after the training, or when they hear that golden nugget and they go, oh my gosh, this is what I came here today for. So that is what CAP Collab has served me and my region. Definitely right.
I'll just add in there, especially for that training, one of the things I think I really love with this space and this group is that there's so much laughter when we do come together and convene, which I think is a lot, not normally what folks think about, especially outside this work, but we know how tough this work is, but also some of the biggest pieces that sustain us are the people, it's the moments, it's the connections that we get to make, and I think these have been some of the Zoom calls where I will laugh the most, or even at that training there in Roseburg, just some amazing laughter that really leads through, but also it's the same piece as child care providers. Like, let me tell you all, if you're, like you're talking to a space about like, here's how we do prevention, at the very beginning, I just wanted to be like, I don't know what I'm doing here. You all are doing the best prevention already, just in the way that you're like supporting youth, or supporting especially like young, male identifying boys. So it's like when you're playing house or playing kitchen, it's like, hell yeah, you can be in the kitchen. Hell yeah, you've got a role in the space there. And how does that carry on through our life and how we show care? And so I think there's so many of those through lines where like laughter really has been something that like supports us all, but then it also goes back to our communities. It's where, people meet and do prevention, where they find their joys at a lot of the time. So I really appreciated that opportunity to get to collaborate and know that Cherry is in the world, and like for all the cool stuff we get to do going forward. Oh.
I got one. That's okay.
Both double fist.
Okay, I don't think I need to tell you all this, but this work can get really stinking lonely. And not in the sense of like, I think I'm doing this all by myself, but in the sense of this is really hard and heavy, and it's breaking my heart today, and it broke my heart yesterday, and it's breaking my heart again today. And I wonder if anyone else's heart is broken, and I wonder if it's just as hard for anyone else. And turns out it is. And I just met these people. I mean, not today, but a couple months ago. And it's been really beautiful to practice community and show up with vulnerability and be like, hey, does anyone else feel like we should burn everything and start over? And they will either agree with me and laugh, or they will, yeah, but have you considered, maybe we focus on this today? And that has been really, it's been a gift to have folks to build solidarity with.
And I'm just going to echo what everybody else has said. Off of that point, in my organization, there's a team of 2 of us that do prevention, and there are about 70 people in my organization. And so, yeah, prevention is super lonely, I think, for a lot of it, and unfortunately, systematically so. It's almost built to be that lonely, and it sucks. But the big thing about the CAP Collab is not only that I'm getting a community, but I've been able to bring in those local partners too to Cap Collab. Like we were doing a mapping project just recently about resources in our community, and I just got to invite this new organization that I had just really developed a connection with, and they're doing work with parents who have kids who have developmental disabilities here in town. And so they're doing awesome prevention, and they have no idea we're all doing this, and we have all these connections and resources. So I got to bring them in too, and that's been awesome.
Thank you all. Yes, in CAP Collaborative, we really believe in the idea of authentic interest sharing is kind of the label I put on it. Do you all get feedback? I'm sorry. Okay, as long as it doesn't bother you. We're going to jump into our next question. How do you see risk reduction moving towards upstream prevention?
Starting with me. Okay, back ping-ponging back. Yeah, so when we're doing work with local organizations, I think a lot of them have heard the standard messages of child abuse prevention that a lot of us have been maybe sharing, right? A lot of like risk reduction stuff, like how can we keep adult relationships and youth relationships safe in a youth serving organization? And how can parent educators go talk to parents about safety practices at home? And those are all super valuable. But I think one thing that we've really been focusing on with our local organizations is like, okay, and then what? How are you developing healthy relationships or modeling healthy relationships in your organization? So we'll sit down and collaborate even further on that. So say we're going in and we have a really cool training for youth serving organizations about how they can have safer practices to prevent child sexual abuse within their organization. And we'll do the standard stuff that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, really good ways to keep them safe and all of that. But then like, okay, now what? How are your staff modeling what a healthy relationship looks like? What explicit conversations are you having in your organization to show what a healthy relationship looks like between an adult and youth? And this has come up especially in really environments that just aren't maybe the typical model. We have a really cool private school I worked with out here, and they were like, Lindsay, I can't do some of this safety stuff you want us to do because part of our model as a school is letting kids roam between classes, and we've got a little bit of forest on the side of the school. Like, how do we do this? And I'm like, well, that's where this healthy relationship expectation needs to start being a part of your culture and your organization. So really trying to move them past, okay, we're preventing harm, to how are we talking about the good stuff and modeling what a good healthy relationship looks like. So that's been a big thing for our local folks because they just haven't been getting those messages as much. So yeah.
I think that language is very important. I think things like risk reduction and prevention are innately just confusing words, because what are you reducing the risk for specifically, and what are you preventing specifically? I mean, it's, to me, the utmost positive community that I want to be a part of is filled with autonomy, and it's filled with choices that people are able to make. And coming from this whole thing that I'm doing, all the work I'm doing comes from my own lived experience, and trying to figure out why the heck is this one specific thing the same thing my mom experienced when she was a kid, and why is that the same thing my grandma experienced, and why does this keep going on forever and ever? And it's just intergenerational for a reason. And that reason is systemic, and it's unfortunate. And I think that the change to upstream prevention really comes from believing that every single human being is capable of change and wants to be good and do good in the world. And I'll just, hot take alert coming up. One of the criticisms that I hear a lot is about a certain felon that's in office, for example. And I'm just tying it back to the language again, because I know a lot of felons that are incredible people. They have done beautiful things. They have had huge impacts on the people in their lives that I aspire to be like. And so just wanting to be also clear about what are we actually criticizing here? And that, I think that can shape what we're really focusing on changing.
Want to try this? Yeah, there you go. Yep, there you go. So I'm just going to piggyback off Lindsay and Akila, because that's really what my focus on is sharing resources and specifically trainings to my educators, students, and providers, and focusing on shifting the language, really go from prevention to well-being. So really just getting that common knowledge across the plane, and then providing the knowledge of the why. Why are we shifting the knowledge or just shifting the language? Why is saying well-being so much more effective than prevention?
Love that. And I think I'll add to and go along. One of the ways that we really are looking when it comes to especially risk reduction, but also it tends to be minimizing risk for victimization, right? And what we really want to focus on is how do we work to prevent that harm from ever happening in the first place? So right within those upstream conversations and those moments that really bring about conversations around choice, what do we want our relationships to look like? And also creating those spaces and containers for when we do mess up, when we do harm. Because I know for me, especially when it was something that no one ever talked about growing up within relationships, holy cow, my stomach gets in knots now just thinking about like 15, 16-year-old Eli and like, dang, I was gaslighting that person to the extreme, right? Like there were not conversations or spaces for them. How do I be accountable for those actions? How do I do differently going forward? And so like when we can really bring in that, and I think there's a comfort piece there too, because so often a lot of our framing will be like, especially for younger youth, it's like, like don't ask or, don't tell. Wait, oh boy, the nervous part of me is really coming out now. I thought it's fine, but like, ooh, like, yeah, like, well, run, tell, like, if something happens, right? And then, but really it's like, I mean, to some degree, that's comprehensive sexual health education on like a really lower level, but then how do we get really comfortable with also recognizing, well, then, like comprehensive sexual health education is healthy relationships education. It's about our boundaries. It's about our bodies, our agency, our rights, right? And so I think sometimes that word, we get so afraid of it and we don't always also recognize that we may be doing it in a lot of ways. And like, as mentioned before, where can we find some extra pieces to get, more comfortable in our own learning, but that has like these profound shifts going forward too.
It's hard to follow all of y'all. I know, right? When I think about shifting from risk reduction to upstream prevention, I think a lot about connection, which has been like such a big theme in what we've shared so far. I'm really excited to be transitioning later this month to PCAO in order, I know, it's exciting, guys, in order to continue working on the MAP Oregon project. MAP stands for Mapping Assets for Prevention, and it is a project to map assets and gaps of the prevention ecosystem in Oregon, because if y'all aren't already familiar, we don't have shared metrics in Oregon to track child abuse prevention. So we don't have a lot of, and we have some legal definitions, but we don't have a lot of shared definitions outside of legal definitions. So it's really hard to create a comprehensive picture in terms of statewide policy when we don't have statewide data. And that intersection is where our Children Oregon lives. So I've been really excited to continue working on that. And I think that having comprehensive data to inform us, and by data I do mean the numbers, of course, and the lived experience. Like our data has to include qualitative lived experience. As everyone has mentioned, lived experience is expertise. So I find that connection piece, the data piece, are key, especially on a statewide level, in moving us from risk reduction to prevention.
Amazing. Thank you, panelists. Everybody throw some love towards our panelists. Keep them going. Keep going. All right. Are we ready for our next question? Share about a creative way you've seen prevention in action. And Grace, it's starting with you.
That's crazy. I have a microphone. A creative way that I've seen prevention in action. Part of my job, one of my favorite parts of my job, is going to the state capitol with a bunch of other advocates and yapping to everyone who will listen to us and yapping to everyone who doesn't want to listen to us too. But our coalition is really diverse. OCO focuses on birth to 25 across domains from economic well-being to climate, you name it, anything to do with family and child well-being, we are working with it, which means that, as was shared earlier, a lot of folks who are doing amazing prevention work don't know that, which means that I get the opportunity to share and to connect them into this space, like Lindsay was saying. And this session, one of my favorite advocacy days was School Meals for All. For those who don't know, Oregon is this close to having school meals for every single child, regardless of their ability to pay. No more school meal lunch debt. We did not get that across the finish line this session, but during the advocacy day, we were, part of our meetings with legislators was to share this little lunchbox shaped like a little school bus with lots of healthy snacks in it. And the conversations that sparked with legislators and staffers really shifted something. It was watching folks open that lunchbox, get really excited for a great snack, and sometimes they would share that's the first thing that they've eaten maybe since this morning. If any of you are also in legislative advocacy, you know how that schedule goes at the Capitol. And to me, that just really demonstrates it's not just about giving people enough facts or giving people a compelling enough speech. We also have to bring folks into experiencing what the ecosystem of prevention can be. What does it feel like when all of us are equipped with enough food to truly be present in these meetings? How might that impact child and family well-being in the state? So I was really grateful to be part of that experience. Also, shout out to School Meals for All if you're looking for some food justice advocacy work in the state.
Yeah, I love that. One I'll share about is a project we've gotten to partner up with at the task force and Prevent Child Abuse Oregon. And we've been calling them every April for Child Abuse Prevention Month and Sexual Assault Action Month, that we've been doing this series called Growing Prevention Community Chats that kind of on that same line seeks to bring in folks from around the state to focus in on a specific topic in a way that aligns with prevention and being really helpful. And and so we will bring people together for that. We'll do a short recording of those conversations, and then we make little videos afterwards. So there's 40 on our YouTube page somewhere. There's these 40 videos that dive into all different types of topics. And even in this room, I'm seeing folks that have given presentations. We got Tina back there with self-sufficiency as prevention, or Rachel in terms of technology and how we can use technology to connect with families in a way that doesn't overwhelm them, right? Because we've all been in that space where there's so much going on, and it's like, here you go, and you just drop this big resource book on their table, and they're like, I'm overwhelmed further. But even we get to dive into how pets are part of prevention, how housing is prevention, how food is part of prevention. Even one that I was really excited about, how gaming and Dungeons and Dragons is part of prevention too, right? So those have been ways that we've been really enjoying that.
Awesome. You have fun ways. So my creative way that I've been working on is, as we all know, when COVID hit, it really forced isolation within all of us. And then even coming out of COVID, especially in the early childhood education field, they stayed isolated. Programs once that were commingling or just very partnering, there's just a wall. So what me and one childcare director, I partnered with the Ford Family Foundation, which is a philanthropy organization in Douglas County, and they funded, I was awarded a grant, and I'm able to facilitate a cohort. And in that cohort, I have 12 directors from different childcare programs, and we come together and every month, and they connect, and it's a safe place for them, because as a director, you are yourself. You are the only person in that entire program that knows what you are going through. However, there are other childcare programs with directors that are going through similar situations. So that this group is on its 3rd year. We actually just got refunded. The results of it has been phenomenal. We've actually opened up a couple more centers, and those directors knew about the cohort and they jumped on it right away because they knew they were going to get the support that they needed. This cohort is known across the state. I have a Head Start director in it, and she shares about what she learns from the group with the other Head Start directors. And every single meeting is, the other Head Start director goes, "Why don't I have it in my county? Why doesn't my county have this group?" It's a great question. So during this time, not only do they have a safe space to, share their struggles within their program, it's a wonderful time where I bring in resources and trainings for them, for leadership, for prevention, for child well-being, for staff well-being. And it has, there is data that's shown an uptick of staff morale, of connection between staff, between director and staff, between programs. So it's a wonderful, wonderful work that I am so blessed to be a part of.
I have one. Thank you.
Oh yeah, you do have one. Just want to double fist it.
One thing that many folks have told me, and something I've learned very quickly, is there are so many organizations, y'all. There's just tons of nonprofits, tons of resources all across Portland, and at the same time, there's lots of communities and families that are not accessing those resources because they're not able to, or for whatever reason. I've decided that my goal is not going to be to help build trust between communities and organizations, because there's a reason that trust doesn't exist, and the goal is not to try to get communities like, hey, you should trust this organization. But instead, one of the things that we're trying to do with Uru Collective Care is tap into what it is that communities are doing already really well. So in the school district that we're partnering with, for example, there's already a grandma that lives down the street. Every morning, she walks a bunch of kindergartners to school. Every afternoon, she walks them back to their neighborhood. There is a dad that's a mechanic that just kind of hangs out on Friday afternoon. He's a mechanic. Do y'all need help? Okay, he's going to help you. And that's really the village, back to that word. That's really the community that would exist if money wasn't a thing, because turns out money's the biggest barrier. So what would it take to create that community that we all truly want, and building a resource inventory of sorts. So instead of an Excel sheet of here's all the organizations with resources, here is your community map. Here is your neighbor that you didn't know could do this that's totally down to help you, and creating that from scratch in a way that families feel like they're gonna want to build out bigger and bigger.
All right, I'll be short and just give mine is mostly a shout out to people that I'm working with a lot, and that is anybody who's working directly with parents. Raise a hands if you work directly with parents, maybe education, home visit. Okay, yeah, thank you to you all, because you are having to be so creative. I had a community partner say to me, these kids in Oregon are really fortunate to have great health standards, to be really learning good skills in school, but they go home and their parents just don't get it. They're learning how to do deep breathing and mindfulness like we did this morning, and then they go home and their parent is like, what the heck is that? And they're not on board. So to all of you who are doing parent education, that is such a big piece of it, and we're shifting a lot of our work to try and get as creative as possible to meet parents where they're at, and that is super hard. But that's where I'm seeing a lot of creativity right now. And we've been making like handouts and some YouTube videos and stuff, which we're at the booth at the PCAO booth. They're gone now, but maybe we'll bring more tomorrow. I don't know. But it's hard to be that creative, and so shout out to all of you.
All right, my lovely panelists, we've been chatty But for the crowd who has been listening to our panelists, I'm going to post these 2 questions on the screen. And I encourage you, if you are thinking of approaching any of these panelists to ask them about the work that they do or the resources, if you wouldn't mind asking them one of these questions first to allow them to share that with you, that would be my ask, just because I really like to let people be their organic selves, and having 5 panelists, I made space and not enough space. But I also think the norm of conferences is speeding through, and it feels very fast. So if you are coming and engaging with any of the panelists during this time during the conference, you can ask them to tell you about how they've seen joy, hope, or strength-based framing in their work. Or the more difficult one and the more important one, we know that funding for sustainability can be challenging aspects of prevention work. And so ask them about if they can highlight how prevention can be shifting our approaches to funding and sustainability, and how you have seen funding successfully support prevention. I'd love it if they can share some of those with you, because we did run out of time, and I'm so sorry. But just wanted to say thank you for everyone listening. If you have time to come after this session, we'll be down here and we can chat with anybody. And then we'll also be back at our booth. It's right when you walk in the exhibit hall. It's hard to miss us. The first, I think there's 50 of them, the first 50 people to come to our booth, we have our CAP Collaborative members who are not able to be with us. We've highlighted some of their comments and quotes, but it is in a fun game if you remember these fun things. And so we will welcome you and entice you to our booth, and hope that you can come and play and be in collaboration with us. To my panelists, thank you so much. I appreciate you all, and I'm so honored to know you all, and thank you for being here and sharing with us.
Thank you, Natalie. You're amazing.